Hi all of you, 7 months for CAT 2026. This is a PPT which will walk you through the syllabus, the so-called syllabus, and the other prime requisites which will really give you the confidence before you go to CAT 2026. So what all is planned in this is the first slide actually starts with a very common question, very important question. What does CAT look for? It's an entrance exam which states that it's aptitude test that gets checked. To be very specific, they are checking some skills, and in the process of checking the skills, there are some contents we have planned. So, what kind of skills CAT is interested in? Mathematics, which actually is a problem solving skills. You will be given a question, doesn't matter what combination it comes up with. Is it exclusive from algebra, or is it an exclusive geometry question, or there is some merger in that? They'll check how do you read the problem, perceive it, roadmap it, and solve it. VARC, the message is very clear and loud. For the many years, CAT has come up with almost 75 to 80% of the VARC questions in the form of RC. So the VA is 20 to 25%, maybe lesser than that. So when RC is checked, it is not just checking whether you have got good pair of eyes or not. It checks whether the comprehension is correct or not. That apparently in psychology means emotional quotient. Analytical mindset, DILR. If you see the past question papers of CAT, the level of difficulty is increasing. So the message is again clear even in DILR. They want you to be selective at one set. So there can be range in that. One of the sets can be easy, the other can be lot tougher, although they've got equal marks. So how do you finalize one set or maybe two sets or at max three sets and finally get it done? So your analytical mindset, calculations, logical thinking, connecting the dots, and something of everything gets checked in DI/LR. So this is what the PPT is. As I told you in the previous slide, syllabus is a part of it. I'm going to show you the entire part, but it is a documented truth. The reality is they want some skills. So we'll talk on both of it. How much time is good enough for CAT preparation? Slightly different question now. It's really subjective answer to this, right? And it depends from student to student. But if I were to give you an answer, crisp and clear, any time limit that will give you a percentile of 95 plus in the last 3 mocks before you enter the examination hall is a good preparation. So if you start 2 years early and before you go into the CAT examination hall, if it is not giving you the percentile which will give you the required college, then the preparation is less. But if you prepare only for 7 months and from the 15th of November onwards, the mocks that you are taking, they are giving you 95 percentile plus, I think that preparation is good enough. So time is counted based on the achievement, and again, if you were to measure it very well, it is a number of hours you will have to plan to hone the skills that I'm going to talk soon. Now this is more of a formality. This slide is not talking about the skills, but yeah, what all you will have to know. So in mathematics, roughly there are 10 chapters. No entrance exam is prescribed as syllabus. We teachers who are training students for the last 20 years, we are also giving CAT quite frequently. We have understood that more often than not, this is what is coming. Some chapters are given higher weightage, some are given less weightage, but it's not a divine truth as such. So first chapter, anyway, so if you take up maths, number system is the most important chapter. Look at this. Number system along with algebra, it carries 40% of the entire weightage. There are 22 questions in CAT and just imagine 40% of it. Anyway, if you get 40% of the entire mathematics questions correct with negligible wrongs, you anyway get the required cutoff for maths, right? So these two chapters are so important from this point of view. What all you need to know in number system? Here are the school days where we see the nomenclature. What are the different types of numbers and the divisibility test. Why this? No entrance exam will ask you the theory, but it gives you the confidence in understanding some questions that predominantly are high in the mathematical jargon. For example, I remember one of the CAT question where they said, let's say Z is a number 0.A1, A2, A1, A2, A1, A2 dot dot dot, where A1 and A2 are integers. Z should be multiplied by n, where n is the natural number. What is the smallest value of n that you will get, and then you get the option. So what is a natural number, what are integers? At time they'll have real and imaginary numbers expected from you, especially in the inequality part. There the entire logic goes in vain if you really don't know what the examiner wants. So the theory part of it, so one time do, you don't have to do it over and again. Divisibility test is a part of it. It's not that nobody will ask question based out of this. Rarely you can see a question from this arena, but it's more of a calculation aid. So for example, there's a big number, 8765293, and you have to know whether it is divisible by 24 or not before you take the next step. So it's an odd number, it's not divisible by 24, but now is it divisible by 24? You cannot go to the rough paper and do the conventional division. All you need to know is know whether it's divisible by 8 and it's divisible by 3, and that happens in flashes of second. So this kind of help divisibility test tip. So it's not something which will come up with the question, but it's a calculation aid, right? LCM, HCF, there are a good number of questions we have seen coming from the area of LCM and HCF. But mind you, for you to understand what is LCM, HCF, it will take 5 minutes. There is a very high chance that you already are aware of LCM, HCF, even if you have had a big gap after your 10th or 12th, right? But it doesn't take too long for you to understand LCM and HCF. What takes longer time is for you to get the precision and accuracy. So a lot of many cases, the question is not very clear. You don't get a start as to what roadmap will take you to the answer. LCM and HCF is a formality which will come towards the end of it, right? Which might also happen unknowingly for you. So updating your theoretical knowledge of an LCM, HCF, 5 minutes is good enough. To get the confidence, getting 8 right out of 10 new questions, it will take some time. Same is the case for averages. Base system. You remember the base system, place value and face value, units place, tens place, hundreds place. There was a beautiful question that CAT came up with where they mixed algebra with base system. They were asking what kind of base system is there where a 3-digit number in that base multiplied by 2-digit number in that base will give you some number in the same base. So what will be, say, 4111 in that base? So you require the knowledge of base system. Again, it will take 5 minutes or 10 minutes for you to acquire that knowledge. But then to work out with the equations of algebra and then taking step by step things ahead, that takes some time. This is slightly new. As the name suggests, it's modern math. We did not have almost the same way in our school days. But what examinations like ZAT and CAT are saying, it's just plus minus multiplication division. It's not unfair to you that you never did this in your school days and we are asking you that. So it's not formula driven, theory driven. It is plus minus multiplication division, those basic operations, but it takes a lot of composure and cool and calm status for you to take the first step. So for example, 212 raised to 4987 multiplied by what will give you the last digit as 4. So the questions really give you a shock. One gets a feeling that not just me, nobody will be able to solve this. But hey, they're not expecting you to do this. Even the calculators can't do that. So there is some observation, some pattern, some rhythm which gives you a start, and then it looks a cakewalk, just 2-3 steps and you're done with it. So power cycle, remainder theorem, factorial related question, factors related, various, these actually are the questions where CAT is showing more interest. You will see the PYQs, there are continuous 2-3 years where they didn't ask base system, maybe they didn't even ask divisibility test. LCM, HCF, I understand it's quite important, but here you will rarely find a CAT examination where they didn't ask anything from this. So this actually is the heart of number system. So what's the story till now? This chapter, I'm coming to this algebra. This chapter along with this chapter is the most important pair. And in these two chapters, this part is the most important part. How much time will it take for you to wrap up the theory? Hardly any. But you will have to solve around 100 questions, maybe more than that, to get that confidence, to get that habit of taking clues and finding patterns and observation. And that's what this chapter currency is, right? Coming to the second part, algebra. Number system is with the numbers, as it says, it's arithmetic. Algebra brings the variable. So here the most important part is not the most important part. The basic part basically is to know the formation of equations and solving part of equations. Like you can't afford not to know how to find x and y when there are two equations. You can't afford not to know how to find x, y, z when there are three equations. You can't afford not to know how to play with x is to y and x plus y sort of combination of equations. So these are prime requisites. After that comes the art of forming the equation. The story comes up quite often, and then you start with some variable, you try to decorate the left and right hand side, and then something that I just told you, all these things come handy in it. For you to get the first hand idea of quadratic equation, in case you never had mathematics after 10th standard, yep, this will take some time. I will suggest you to do the ultra basics at Bullseye Nasik. We have a set of exercises, we call those as ultra basics. No entrance exam asks questions based out of these, but they are important for you to take the confidence on. So for example, even the great cricketers, when they have to go for World Cup finals, at times they simply practice the catches. Somebody's throwing and simply practicing the catches. So that's basics. A person who is going World Cup final, why are you giving him simple catch practice? Maybe that increases confidence. So maybe that really will not come as a problem in the entire challenge that you're coming. So that's ultra basics for us, right? Especially for the commerce and BBA students who actually had a gap, it is quite important for them. So progressions and inequalities is very important in this. So here in a number system, these are the topics which we have seen very frequently coming in CAT. These two have shown their appearances quite frequently. So now the entire summary of this slide, these two chapters carry around 40% of the weightage. In that, this really is the lifeline of number system. And when it comes to algebra, once you are aware of the do's and don'ts, the conventional processes, then you need to have a very good hold over this, especially the level of difficulty 3 and 4. So that's about this. I have seen quite a few students who have cracked CAT majorly by relying more on these two chapters, and the other chapters were mere formality for them. Right, so that's the importance of this. What is the other set of chapters? So that was number system, that is arithmetic and algebra. It is percentages and fractions. Now we are talking about skills, playing with numbers, observation, patterns, generating logic. Second part of the previous slide was the art of forming equation. Here, knowing how to work out percentages, when is it given in percentage, when is it asked in percentage, how do you go. So first, be very friendly with the basic percentage steps, right? Every entrance exam has this, and not just percentage from maths, also the DI part of it checks your percentage basics. Simple applications of percentages, simple compound interest and profit and loss. Here there are a set of 2 or 3 formulas each involved in these applications, but you can quite conveniently ignore those formulas if you want. For that, you need to be very friendly with the percentage calculations. But just getting friendly with the percentage calculations will not suffice. Even in percentages, they expect you to carry clues. I remember one of the beautiful question in CAT, they said, fresh grapes have 80% water and dried grapes have, I don't remember, let's say 90% solid. So when the fresh grapes are dried, let's say 20 kg of fresh grapes are dried, what will be the weight of the dried weights? So it's not that you know how to find A% of B, you know how to find out A is what percent of B. You are also well versed with percentage increase and decrease. But a question like this demands your attention. For you to start, and not just the formation of equation, there are some clues to be taken. And we have witnessed so many questions, you know, the boys and girls with this much percentage, that much percentage. There is a cord that connects them. And once you connect that cord, only then can you go ahead. So percentages, be well versed with the basics. After that, start doing the questions LOD 1 and 2, sitters. 3 and 4, you require clue. 4 and 5, they really require your attention. So that's how the syllabus is. Fractions in a way is a sibling of percentage. I mean 1 by 2, some of them call it as 50 percentage, or 33.33 is 1/3, or 25% more is 5 by 4. So they go hand in hand. If you're good at this, it's almost assumed that you will be good at this, and vice versa. But in fractions, the chapters that get covered, ratio, mixtures, it's actually a subset of ratio. It's an extension to ratio. Replacement, by and large, a part of ratio applications. Work and time, slightly different, but very interesting. At Bullseye, we run a method called as chocolate method for this, just to make it look very simple, accurate, at the same time quick. So it has got different ways of doing the same question. The way you perceive it, it gets perceived. That's the beauty of work and time. So percentage and fraction. What's the weightage? It covers around 20%. 40% the first two chapters, 20% these two chapters. Chapters as in applications of percentages and applications of fraction. It's almost 60%. What time will it take for you to go through this theory? 1 hour is enough. You remember the first slide? How much time do we need to prepare? How much time do we need to ensure a good preparation before CAT 2026? That's November. And here I am saying in 1 hour, you can understand the theory, which is around 60%. What's going on? That's the beauty of CAT. So don't take the cart before the horse. The horse should be ahead. So syllabus is important, but you focus more on these skills. I'm going to come up quickly with that, but with whatever I told you now, if I were to summarize, the art of forming equations and the ability to understand questions very quickly and then get clues from it. Focus on this while doing all the theory part, theory updates. What after percentages and fractions? As such, it doesn't have its own foundation or core as such, but another application of maths, speed, distance, time. Just one formula as such, but that relative speed really makes the question interesting, right? We have actually broken it into 5-6 parts just to make it look more systematic, so that while addressing the student, we can focus on area clearly. You know, are you good at linear races? Why are you not so good at circular races? What's your problem with boats and strings? So it's divided into parts just to ensure that we cover area by area. Otherwise, there is a thick commonality in all of them, right? So speed, distance, time, space for logic, bhar bhar ke hai. You can do enough of jugaad here, right? And if you are good at formation of equation, this two subtopics will really be very good. No theory updates. I mean, it will take very less time for you to update the theory, but to work on these things, it will take some time. Almost for all the 3 slides that I taught, if I were to give you some measurement, around 100 questions with the variance in the level of difficulty. Some questions LOD 1 and 2, a bit more in 2 and 3, and at least 50% in 3, 4 or 4, 5, I think will give you the confidence, and then we will say this chapter part is done. The so-called syllabus is done. Geometry is almost standing differently. In most of the parts, 3 slides or 4 slides that I discussed, I said the theory input is very minimal. Here it is not the case. You need to know the different formulas of area of triangle for you to get better feel. Area of triangle is half of base into height, everybody knows. But if you're going for entrance exams, the questions are camouflaged. The questions are not straightforward. So have more of geometry feed. Same area of triangle can be written as semi-perimeter formula, if you know, under root of s minus a, s minus b, s minus c. The area of triangle can be written as r into s, where r is the in radius, s is the semi-perimeter. Same area, any triangle in fact, why just a particular triangle? It can be ABC upon 4r, it can be through sine rule, through cosine rule. Now if a triangle comes this way or that way, just imagine the preparation level that you have, and if it doesn't come this way, you knock the door this way, then I think geometry becomes friendly. And I'm talking about just one part of it, plane geometry, that too triangle. And then there are many things you need to know. How do you reconcile trapezium with a parallelogram, the commonalities, uncommonalities? First, you wrap up the theory. You should know the areas and related terms very well. It should be on your tongue tip, and then the other work starts. So, plane geometry, solid trigonometry, coordinate geometry, the weightage is less. Here, the weightage is highest. Right? But geometry has played hide and seek with CAT. I remember 2004, 2009, that 4-5 years streak had less of geometry. Then all of a sudden we saw a spurt in geometry questions, and then it decreased. These days, out of 22 questions, you can easily find 2 to 4 questions of geometry, which says the weightage is around 10 to 15%. So that's the weightage of geometry. But yeah, here you need to know good formula set. It's not that your jugaad will work out or the art of formation of equation will sail through. So that's about geometry. Some students did not have PNC in their school days. Quite a few students, the CBSE or the IB board students, they did have permutation combinations, but all those who anyway had, they did not have it in deep sense. They had superficial coverage of PNC. It's turned that CAT is expecting you to know 150 formulas of PNC, right? But very interesting question. First, it takes some time for you to get sunk in the question what exactly is being asked. Very simple question can turn out to be a bomb. For example, a question that says there is a locality where no two localites have same layout of teeth. They can have same number of teeth but not the same layout of the teeth. What is the maximum population of this village? The question is just one liner or 1.5 line. But it takes a lot of time to absorb, get a start and reach the end. And when you look at the options, they are very high. I mean, the answer to that, by the way, is 2 raised to 32. I'm not teaching you PNC, so don't expect clarification on this. I'm just trying to give you a message that a question can be simple, 1 or 1.5 liner, but it can have a health like He-Man. And for you to tackle that person, you really need to be really good for those 2 minutes in your presence of mind, in your observation, in the process that takes you through. So that's the beauty of PNC. The other important part is your first year MBA or PGDBM will have PNC probability once again. So they say these two chapters really separate the learned manager from a natural manager. So the manager who uses science along with the art in managing, this is a lot of it. This part actually is the lot part of science. So it is inevitable. You can't skip this. It's going to come up once again after a year. So do that. Higher maths functions. It has been frequently asked from 2000 till 2026. We see function questions. They're changing the color slightly. It's getting combined with arithmetic. The diagrams almost have disappeared, the graphs I'm trying to say, but functions is coming, right? And such a helpful topic nevertheless. So functions is in our books, Bullseye book, it's a part of algebra. We cover it over there. You require some knowledge, but unlike IPMAT exam, CAT is not interested in you knowing the onto function, into function, and many one function, and all the categorization of the types of function is not expected. You need to know it more as a substitution and pattern driven question. That's what functions is. Logarithm, a lot of them did not have in the school days, um, but it's again a sibling of laws of indices. So I think rename logarithm as laws of indices, or it's the modern version of laws of indices. You will find it interesting. The theory will go away, and then it will start getting unfolded in a better way. But good question. So this topic covers around 10 to 15% of the weightage, so you can't skip this. Cubic equations, if at all you want to skip, you can skip. But if it comes in the exam, only knowledge will help you out. Otherwise, just plugging with some randomly thought numbers and checking LHS equal to RHS, CAT will not give you such sitter question. You need to have at least some basic understanding of it, and it's just the upper version of quadratic equation. In quadratic equation, you have identities for sum of the roots and product of the roots. Here it is the sum of the through roots and the other combinations that come. So it's just an extension to the quadratic equation. Miscellaneous clocks and calendars. I'm not scared of the maths questions. It rarely comes in CAT, but even if it comes, you can do it by your natural wisdom, the natural knowledge that you carry. But if a question of clock and calendars comes in LR, then those computation methods really will give you the upper edge. If you're going with your natural ability, natural instincts, natural knowledge, you'll sail through maths question. But I remember one of the question where it was a kingdom and the king was giving some instructions and the eras were brought in. The era before king, after king, and days were coming up. So if you know the method of finding the days previous back and you've spent some time, I think that LR set looks easy. Otherwise, it takes some time. Set theory, it's important from NPAT and NMAT point of view. CAT, if it comes with 4 set in LR, 3 sets, we're quite used to it. 2 sets, it's very easy. But when it comes with 4 sets, this LR set really can make or break the CAT examination. There are different ways of doing it. These days, the 4 sets are done some other way also. Right? But set theory in logical reasoning is more important than set theory in mathematics. Set theory is set theory at the end of it, but the knowledge part of it in LR, and the other reason for LR is it's got 4 questions or maybe 5 questions. There's a difference in that. And that is not involved in making the weightage count. This is exclusive mathematics, math weightage. So that's the beauty of set theory. Now, what did I discuss with you? Around 10 chapters clubbed as per their DNA, the commonalities, arithmetic, algebra. It's not that they have common, but the most important part. Percentages, fractions, they are siblings. Fraction has got its further bifurcations, percentages, it's further. If you break them all, there are 10 chapters. Otherwise, there are 3-4 chapters apparently for you, and you have to get through this. It is theory that will take less time. In fact, very less time. It is the skills, that is ability to take clues, ability to form equations, do some logic. This will take a lot of time. How much time you have in hand, how much time you will take to cultivate the skills is the answer to the question that I asked. How long will it take for us to be confident before we go to the CAT examination? Let me see what this slide has to say. Yep. Skills, the ability to understand the question I told you. It's not that students are uncomfortable with the language. I've seen students reading 200 pages novel. They have no problem with that. But when it comes to maths question, it's a different ball game altogether. So you need to pay attention to that skill. Ability to form the equation, I just now told you. Balancing it out, LHS, LHS. At times you have found two equations. Ability to solve the equation that is formed. So most of the equations are very easy, but some equations, they are painful, time consuming, and that's why ability to solve the already formed equations, it can take a quadratic equation turn, it can have two squares, x square as well as y square, and you're not willing to solve it. So formation of equation at times becomes critical step. Ability to generate logic, there's no science for that, but you need to have a practice. At Bullseye, we said it's a process of it's in analogous to OTP generation that we use in the online transactions. If you have a good network, you get a OTP that's compared with the logic. If the OTP matches with the clue that is needed, then you crack that question. If the OTP is inappropriate, that brilliant idea, so-called OTP, is not going to fit. It's a mistake. How to do that? We have workshops on that, and that really takes good time and energy. But these are the skills, they really will give you the upper edge in CAT. If you actually have at least two skills out of the four, I think you have a lot of confidence before going to the CAT examination. What are the methods? I mean, skills are there, but use different methods. The way you have different methods, different shots for different types of ball. For some particular ball you play cover dive, for some you play some other. So the way the ball comes, if not this, do that. If not that, we do that, right? Same way for maths. Once you understand, if you feel you cannot use the options, can you take 100 as the base? It's not feasible because there is some absolute number in the equation. Can you form the equation? It simply is beyond your ability. You can't form the equation. Can you think for 30 seconds? So those are the methods we are talking about. Formation of equation we've already discussed. Good time goes here. So if any teacher is teaching you only the theory part of it and not teaching you how to form the equations, you're wasting your time. Trust me. How to use the option, nobody should teach you. There's no great secret in that, and there's no great skill in that, but you just match the conditions and use the option if there is a space. Very less questions you will find where the use of option is feasible. Hypothesis, unitary method, yep, you need to practice on this method, right? So towards the end of the CAT, when we are focusing more on the mock CAT, we don't revise the chapters. So there is one dedicated day for formation of equations. Let any question come, we'll form equation and solve. Some day will be dedicated for use of option. Hypothesis, normally percentages, fraction, ratio, this works. Trial and hit, and the HT method. HT method is exclusive Bullseye Nasik method, especially when you are clueless and you get a feeling that it's a big question, why just me? Nobody will be able to solve it. That kind of situation is the start to this. And how do we do with that is something we will discuss in the workshops. So these are the methods. Skills versus syllabus. Now we are on DILR. DILR, the moment you start CAT syllabus, the syllabus is over. So if you start a CAT preparation today, congratulations, 1/3 of the CAT syllabus is over in a day. Simply because there is no syllabus. How can logical reasoning have syllabus, or how can DI, data interpretation, be a part of syllabus? But to be systematic, we have carved out, a plan for that, and we have segregated in chapters. Say, for example, data arrangement based, flowchart based, data arrangement when it is X and Y axis based, data arrangement when it is sitting arrangement based, just to make it more systematic, games and tournaments. So we have labeled them topics, but they're not chapters. It's just an attempt to make it look systematic so that we have touched most of the areas, and there's no surety that one of the set from these areas will come. It can be altogether different. So we just work on DI so that we have the confidence of transferring this knowledge into a completely new surprise context when we get in the actual CAT. But when it comes to take that on, you'll have to first be well versed with percentage calculations. The MBA CET, NMAT, SNAP actually will be okay even if you are well versed with these basic steps. Fractions based step, a part of it actually. getting comfortable with all the graphs and tables. At times you can get a radar graph. And just imagine a student having, so there are some numbers given here and you're completely unaware of it, and it takes some time for you to digest what is given and what it means and how do you take forward from there. But if you have seen a graph of that type earlier, you simply save 30 seconds and get ahead in the competition. So you can have stacked graph, you can have dispersed chart, and all these things known earlier will make it better. But these abstract graphs contribute to maybe 1% to 5%. So 99 to 95% of the DI sets will be those conventional graphs, the tables, the line chart, bar chart, maybe a case list, right? But you need to be comfortable with not so commonly asked graphs also. It becomes a part of your CAT preparation. Practice of data management. Data management is the information that is given. How do you manage that? I told you in the previous slide. LOD 1 and 2, the moment you read it, you start. You are just trying to match the given conditions. There is no great skill required. LOD 2, something is hidden. There is half truth and you have to interpret in a better way. Whenever it rains, I dance. I have danced, it doesn't mean it has rained. So the examiner is expecting you to apply the logic in context of this. It's implied. It is not stated. So level of difficulty to start coming with these things. If Mr. Joshi stays above Mr. Patel, then Mr. Khan will stay below Mr. Kulkar. And there is a lot to interpret from this. And that's a part of level of difficulty too. So there is something to read between the lines. There is something which is implied. Level of difficulty 3, maybe you require multiple arrangements. Maybe you require some basic understanding. Maybe you require a combination of 3-4 critical success factors to crack that data. All in all, you need around 100 sets of practice. And few days before the CAT, if out of 4, you are able to solve one set more often than not, then I think you have got good preparation for CAT. You are able to solve 2 sets in 40 minutes, you are heading towards 95 to 100% accuracy, a percentile in that. So that's a part of data arrangement in LR and DI. VARC. Like DI and LR, even VARC does not have syllabus, especially the RC part of it. VA, I can understand if you're trying to take a recap of grammar, you need to know some theory, the exceptions in the rule. But most of the major entrance exams have reduced grammar to almost negligible weight. So even that is not a headache anymore. But RC is predominantly high across all the entrance exams. And reading comprehension, reading is okay. Comprehension is especially the level that CAT is coming up with, that requires some practice. So one simple way I'll tell you is reading daily 4 to 5 RCs and getting good confidence over the speed with which you are doing. Speed as such is not important, but the comprehension level. In the initial days, you will have to read one paragraph 2 times, or maybe the entire passage 2 times. But there comes a stage where you read it once and then you have understood it almost completely. And without going to and fro many times, you can actually address the questions. What is a part of your preparation? Conventional reading comprehension. What do you mean by conventional reading comprehension? Is those management based passages, even if you are not aware of few jargons in the words, there are some words completely new to you, alien to you, but how do you understand the meaning of the sentence and get an overall idea of whether it's positive or negative? So that's basically conventional reading comprehension. Critical reasoning, along with reading and understanding, you have to have a stand. You need to have your reflex. You need to have the art of catching up the clues from that. Para summary is a part of this, right? Because if you can understand the entire gist of a paragraph in RC, it is just the amplified version in para summary. You have 6-7 lines and you have to summarize it, and prove that you have understood what exactly the author wants to say. So that's RC. By syllabus, what do I mean? All this comes in the exam. How long will it take for you to get acquainted? Very less time. For you to get expert in this, practice, practice, practice. Okay. Parajumble again, CAT has reduced it. Last year we had a question or two, but a year before last year we did not even have single question of parajumble. So parajumble is something which is mostly in the form of theta questions. Type in the answer. You have something to gain and very little to lose. There's no negative marking, but it takes time. And quite a few students understand this in the mock test practice zone, how important parajumble are. But I will not talk more about it because the weightage is reduced. But nevertheless, you need to do this because nobody has given us the license to avoid this. If this year it comes up with 3 questions, then it will be a great deal. Sentence correction, that's grammar. So in Bullseye, what we do is, now this is a part of syllabus. Most importantly, you should know the verbs, especially the subject verb agreement. And then you should be uh, good at prepositions, pronouns. There's a long list. Noun, pronoun, adjective, adverb, so many. But if you see last 15 years as question papers, sentence correction to whatever quantity CAT has come up with, most of them actually have this in that. And they are also deep as subject verb agreement has got its own rules, right? So focus primarily on this, go through all the rules and exceptions of this, you will have great confidence in that. Sentence completion is filling the blanks, para completion is the upper version of filling the blanks, and sentence connectors are the experiments CAT did in the previous few years. So more or less it's the sense of how to fill the gap, a big sentence gap or a word based gap, and you try to understand the previous part of the data, the later part of the data. So the preparation of this really requires different skill. It's very interesting. So in these sessions, what we do is we start with videos. You guys are so good at predicting what happens in the TV serials these days, even in the cricket match. Who will bowl the next over? Your brain goes very well. What will happen in the second part of advertisement or the movie or the series? Something like that gets used in para completion or sentence connectors or simply the filling the blanks, as they say. So that angle of yours is already cultivated. You have this skill. How to reconcile it with the requirement is something that we need to do. Bullseye RC method. It's too early to talk. It's not a syllabus part, but now that this slide has come, I'll quickly walk you through. What we do at Bullseye is we run in 2 parts. We try to understand what the author wants to say. For example, if I ask you, what does the writer of the movie Three Idiots wants us to understand in one line? Or what does the writer of the movie Pushpa 2 wants us to understand in one line? And you already are good at that. You've already understood. When it comes in black and white text, how different it is. What all we need to ignore, we don't have to focus on all the words. It doesn't matter if you do not know all the words in the RC. Quite a few students get a feeling that they don't understand reading because there are words they don't understand. They sit beside the dictionary in the mobile. You will never be able to improve your reading. Your vocab will improve, and that's helpful, nice, but that's not the right way. If I talk with you in Gujarati, Gujarati is not your mother tongue, you're not even from Gujarat. Still, you will understand because there is some part of Hindi or maybe Marathi, and same with Punjabi. So, our brain is enough good to take 3 words of your knowledge and understand the remaining 2 words. Somewhat like that, we try to do when we try to decode the author. Focus more on his feelings and not on the words. This guy is cunning, he's smart, and he is trying to uh, pull you in the wrong options. It's going to give you some options which look obvious and they are not. And decoding the examiner is a different art altogether. So you've got methods like the boxing match method and comparing two options and quite a few things, but you need to pay attention to this altogether differently. So it's a part of syllabus. Reading comprehension is a formality. How to do reading comprehension is a part of your syllabus coverage or CAT preparation enhancement. Sentence connection method I'll talk later on. There's a lot to say. I can easily cover 1.5 hours in this. Just to give you a glimpse of it, in the CAT preparation, what all you need, we feel there are these things which are important in CAT preparation, even if it is 7 months, less or more, you decide, but this is required. Teltax counselings. After every 15 days or so, like a doctor sees the file, prescribes the medicine, either increases the dosage of the medicine or decreases the dosage or substitutes the medicine, we do it here. Just dancing in front of the board and giving you the theory inputs and go home and solve this, I think you are anyway doing it on your own. Why don't you see a YouTube channel instead of visiting a brick and mortar class? So at Bullseye, we understand that there is something else going in your head. Are you now able to read it quickly? What is the problem? What feed you need? What is your appetite? And this is one-on-one counseling for 15 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on the status and the requirement. We give the time to the student. This is a part of your preparation. Otherwise, the value addition doesn't happen. And if it happens, the student is doing on her own or his own. Merciless math sessions, not just maths, even in English as such. A stage comes where we wrap up the basics, LOD 1 and 2, and then we keep 2-3 different months separately for these merciless maths. And the word itself gives you a feeling that I'm going to do something which is going to take a lot of efforts. Most others are not going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and that's what works when it comes to it. Intense DILR workshops, RC workshop, and in this we also at times call the celebrities. We call that as celebs. Om Kankriya came the other day. He's just passed out of Jamnalal Bajaj, so he was trying to teach something. Aditya, who got calls from IIMs, he's got called from IIT Mumbai, IIM Mumbai, IIM Indore, and many other IIMs apart from FM and IIFT. So he's in town. He takes some workshop of DILR. Saish, who's got a call from XLRI and FMS, he might take a merciless math session or RC. So even these guys who are just 2 years senior to you, maybe 1 year senior to you, they come and they do because they've already cracked the exam a year before or maybe a couple of years before. So that also becomes a part of your preparation. So that's about this. That's it. So summary of this, what was this presentation about? How do you plan your CAT preparation for the 7 months? What did I tell you? Syllabus is often misunderstood. It's not chapter by chapter. That is just a formality. It can be wrapped in 2 to 4 hours. The skills that are required, most importantly, formation of equation, ability to understand, ability to read passages, 4 or 5 passages with good comprehension, and the ability to take the clues from LR questions. This takes a lot of time. For somebody, it is 100 hours. For someone, it can be 1,000 hours. But you'll have to check that through mock test. And we do it by sitting with the students one-on-one and then seeing the growth in them. In case there is anything else you want to know, you want to check, you can WhatsApp us on this number. We'll surely be able to help you out. That's it, guys. Thank you. See you. Bye.